If you've never seen my videos before, let me share with you a little bit about my story and what I've been going through. Almost 10 years ago, I had to have major surgery. I gave up my mother-in-law apartment and have been going from place to place ever since. I've had no stability. I can't even imagine counting the number of times I've moved my things. That alone is probably the biggest trauma of this whole thing. I've decided to share my story about not having a home and what it does to a person, how it wears down your spirit, how it tears you down mentally. I also want to speak to the myths and the misconceptions that people make regarding homelessness. It's not a choice. I would do anything to have stable, safe housing. In fact, I've fought very hard. My battle may be coming to an end very soon. It hasn't yet, and I am more and more shocked by my own mental breakdown and outbursts out of just sheer overwhelm. I walked into a class the other day and I put my mat down onto one of the few remaining spots open. It was next to a really handsome man. I don't think I've ever seen him there before. I had just that morning gotten up before 6 a.m., made some instant coffee, brushed my teeth, put my belongings into my locker, things like my toothbrush, coffee equipment, and then I packed my travel blanket and pillow into my backpack. Not feeling like I have anywhere safe to store my things has me living like a homeless person. All this rearranging takes up precious time when you're trying to get to yoga in the morning, especially when you're trying so hard to get there early. I suppose my mental compulsions are taking a priority at this moment in time. Really, I might want to look at the lesson that this has in it about maybe not trying so hard to protect my stuff and putting first things first. My practice is the most important thing to me. And yet I'm finding myself holding on to simple possessions like my organic pillow. There's this element of not having control if someone goes into my space or not. I don't think that people with stable housing can even fathom what it's like to not have agency over your living space. So I'm in yoga and I'm just in a really bad mood because of how long it took me to get there, thinking about the obstacles that I have that others don't, who simply roll out of their bed and make their coffee and drive to class. But the part that drove me crazy is thinking everyone there has someone who would never let them go homeless. And like a social media post about the dog who's been in the shelter the longest, who finally gives up hope of ever being adopted and doesn't even try to interact with the prospective adopters anymore. That's how I felt practicing next to this hot, athletic man. This disconnect, this remembering, oh, remember when you used to get excited about the thought of getting close to a man? I am the proverbial dog in the animal shelter. I guess it's the anger and the unworthiness and the disappointment of a lifetime of wanting a partner and never finding real love with a man. But most of all, it's the anger coming out of the struggle it's been to just safely exist anywhere. So the slightest thing set me off. It crushes me that it happened in the presence of my teacher, someone I have so much respect and love for, someone I admire honestly. I was leaving class and she told me that there was a sign above my bike. I had been locking up my bike in the hallway up against the benches where people sit. Apparently somebody had complained and she had mentioned that it might be in the way of people who use the space to bring carts through the area. I was so caught up in my reaction that was taking over at this point that I didn't really pay attention. I just started saying really awful sarcastic things like, of course, how dare I take up space and people get so protective about their space. The hurt just took over and I let it spew onto somebody that I really care so deeply about. This is the part that hurts the most. It seemed like she took it personally, even though my intention was to not direct it towards her. She wasn't the one who put the sign up there. And I can't take how I reacted back. I tried to explain and apologize. She just said that there was no need for me to apologize. I just felt sick inside and decided to use this pain to turn it into a video and start telling my story about how I got here. I've lived in so many other people's houses by everyone else's rules, many of them just so ridiculous. People really are protective about their spaces and have a hard time sharing. There just hasn't been anywhere for me to take up space where I'm not a bother to people who have ownership of the space. I've started to feel like I'll never recover from the simple feeling of not being really allowed anywhere, and it blew out onto one of the most important people to me. So the next day, I did this. I rode my bike to the 8 a.m. class. I locked it up outside by one of the nearby buildings because at least it had a covering so it wouldn't get bird poop on it or rained on while in class. And it came down to what one of my teachers has shared about finding your why for practicing yoga. I honestly would be dead if it weren't for yoga recalibrating my mindset. I need that mental clarity that yoga brings to me on a daily basis. At the end of class, I sat there in lotus, thinking back to the prior day of my struggle between keeping my bike safe and sound or yoga. I prioritized yoga. Tears were coming down out of joy, not sadness or grief, realizing that no one can take away this from me, and I am grateful beyond words to be able to do this practice and also have a teacher who is so in tune to my needs. I want to keep making these videos and sharing bits and pieces of my story and how this housing crisis has affected me.